former U.S. ambassador to NATO. Volker joins us from Washington, D.C., and it's good to have you back with us. First off, with your experience taking a look at the changes we've seen in North Africa, did you ever think we would see this day where Gaddafi has been taken out of power in Libya?
Well, I think once this operation started, then you knew there was no outcome that was imaginable other than that he would be removed from power at some point. Even so, the images that we've seen this weekend have been fairly dramatic. It seems that a few weeks ago, the NATO special forces that were working with the rebels were able to coordinate the airstrikes from NATO together with better ground tactics and equipment from the rebels, and they made tremendous gains in just a matter of weeks.
Well, let me ask you, because Gaddafi himself still on the run, his whereabouts aren't known, but is this the end game, whether or not we capture Gaddafi or not?
Clearly it is. I mean, he is no longer going to be a factor in governing Libya. There will be some pockets of resistance, and so the rebel forces now have a dual challenge. The first is to complete the job of defeating the resisting Gaddafi forces that are there and trying to find Gaddafi himself. But the second is moving as quickly as possible to ensure that there is an establishment of stability and security and governance in the capital and throughout the country so that things can get back to normal as quickly as possible.
What about establishment? What's next? Do you have a power vacuum, regime change? Who's going to fill the void?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have a power vacuum. The Transitional National Council has been functioning somewhat effectively and as a collective group for some time. They're going to move from Benghazi to Tripoli when it's safe to do so, and they're going to set the stage for a political transition to new institutions, democracy, elections, and so forth in Libya. It'll take a time period of transition. This can't be done overnight, and this Transitional Council will play a role. I would say that the model for this is probably going to be something similar to what you see in Tunisia, where there is a committee that is the guardians of the purposes of the revolution, and they're making sure that the transition that takes place stays faithful to the sacrifices that were made by the Tunisian people. I expect you'll see something similar with Libya.
And what about the international aid? I mean, this rebel victory really couldn't have been possible without help of foreign nations and NATO, of course, with the strikes on Gaddafi's air targets. In the end, do you think this really was the right response from the international community?
I think the international community could have done more and done it faster. I think that we were slow in the imposition of the no-fly zone when Gaddafi was attacking his own people by aircraft. That was the time to do it, not till after he had stopped. And then when it came time to train, equip, and support the rebels in their effort to overthrow him, we again delayed for months before we took those steps. But in the end, we finally got there. Now I think the international community needs to stick with it as well. There will be continuing security tasks, as I said, both going after residual forces and establishing security in the capital. And then there'll be the tasks of standing up a brand new government. So there'll be a lot of technical assistance that is required, maybe some initial humanitarian assistance, and then helping the economy to get back on its feet quickly. I think release of these funds that the Libyan state has had frozen for some time will be an important first step, but the need for engagement by the international community will continue.
Now, what does a new Libya mean for North Africa going forward? It represents 2% of the world's oil output, but I guess strategically in the region, a new Libya here, what does that mean for the rest of its neighbors?
It's a tremendously hopeful sign. We've seen a successful revolution in Tunisia where the dictator there, Ben Ali, was ousted by his own people. We saw the same thing in Egypt with Mubarak. Connecting the two, in between them you have Libya. He tried to resist this. He tried to put up a brutal fight against his own people, killing people at will. He has been defeated and thrown out of power. This now connects a whole area of North Africa where there will be more open societies, more democracy, a better chance for people to have prosperous livelihoods. This is a signal for the rest of the Middle East now. I think Bashar Assad in Syria was inspired by the example of Gaddafi in fighting back. He's now got to be much more worried about his sustainability in power. And for others in the Arab world who've been looking for their chances to exercise rights and freedoms that they haven't enjoyed for decades, this is a hopeful sign.
And Mr. Volker, I'm going to have to tap your foreign experience once again, but questions as to what exactly is going to happen to Gaddafi. Will he be found? Where is he in the world? Do you have any of these answers?
Well, We don't know where he is. If we did, I'm sure he'd be found quickly. It took U.S. forces in Iraq several months to find Saddam Hussein. He went into hiding. I don't know what will be the case with Gaddafi in terms of when he is found. The International Court in The Hague has assumed jurisdiction over him, saying that he has committed war crimes, committed crimes against his own people. So in the first instance, the thought would be that he would be transferred to The Hague. There is a possibility, however, that within Libya itself, the forces of the revolution that have now taken power would bring him to justice within Libya, and we've seen examples of that in the past as well in other countries. So we have to see. But the prospect that he would ever play a major political role or a leading role in Libya again in the future, that's now over.
Mr. Volker, thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure to have you on with us. As the former U.S. ambassador to NATO, Volker, joining us from Washington, D.C.